It started with smart tools and helpful bots, but now it's taking over your life. AI writes your emails, curates your playlists, answers your questions, flirts with you in chat apps. What once felt like convenience now feels like dependency, or worse, a trap. So are you still in control, or are you just feeding the beast that's about to consume you? We'll reveal how AI will ruin your life on this episode of The Infographic Show. The idea of a menacing AI is nothing new. They've been making the rounds in fiction for a long time, and the results are usually apocalyptic. The first two prominent examples were HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey, a highly intelligent and sinister AI with its own agenda who malfunctioned and tormented a group of astronauts, and the other was the mad and sadistic AM created by Harlan Ellison in the sci-fi horror story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. This saw the supercomputer eradicate all life on Earth, save for 4 humans that he kept around as twisted playthings. They were followed by the most iconic evil AI, Skynet, which took over the world and created killer skeleton bots in the Terminator franchise. Then came the Portal franchise, a video game that saw its protagonist bedeviled by the cruel and sarcastic AI GLaDOS. But in reality, issues with AI are likely to be a lot more down to earth. Humanity hasn't come close to creating self-aware, self-acting AIs that function without prompting yet, and that's probably a good thing. After all, humans aren't always rational, and why would we assume anything that we create would be more so? Instead, what humans are primarily interested in is creating AIs that are essentially far more complex chatbots, able to perform specific functions when prompted, hold conversations, and act based on complex algorithms. The idea of artificial intelligence goes back half a century, and scientists were working on it a long time before we knew about it. And then in 2022, the whole thing blew wide open. Most scientists working on artificial intelligence were focused on its practical implications, with there being a lot of hope for us to use it in data analysis. These computers were developed to be very good at sifting through large amounts of data and could identify patterns, particularly in the medical field. There was a lot of hope that artificial intelligence would be useful in diagnoses and identifying successful test points. But tech barons had other ideas. In late 2022, when the tech was still incomplete but a promising beta, ChatGPT was rolled out to the public by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, and then it was off to the races. The thing about big tech is that when one company has a new innovation, everyone else thinks that they need it too or they'll fall behind. ChatGPT blew people away and became a national obsession, thanks to its uncanny ability to seemingly answer any question, write stories, and give advice. Soon other tech powerhouses followed suit. X, formerly known as Twitter, now has the Grok AI built in, and Google developed its own AI, Gemini, which now adds an AI-generated summary of search results on every page. Soon the chatbots were gaining new abilities as they were rolled out, including the ability to generate art in just about any style, and even photorealistic images that were hard to tell from reality. But while it seemed perfect, it definitely wasn't. From the start, eagle-eyed viewers noticed that ChatGPT might have been faster than a speeding bullet, but it definitely wasn't more accurate than Superman's X-ray vision. Fact-finding summaries from the chatbot would sometimes have common mistakes, stories would forget key issues, and pictures generated didn't quite have a firm grasp on human anatomy. To which the team behind it said, "Yeah, it's not finished, we're working on it." And everyone understood and they stopped relying on it for things. Yeah, right. Have you met people? Less than 3 years later, AI has infiltrated every corner of our lives, whether we want it to or not. And the new technology has made some things easier and a lot of things harder. In a way, it's an ironic genie. You can achieve everything you want with the click of a button, and no one will be the wiser. Probably. Sure, it won't be as good as if you just put some effort into it, but it'll be a heck of a lot easier. And how much do you really value what people think of your work? Many people have chosen the quick and easy option, and that work has to come from somewhere. One of the biggest misconceptions about AI is that it actually is thinking for itself. Unlike the movie versions, which usually don't end well, ChatGPT and other AIs currently are not sentient. Rather, they're very advanced search engines equipped with predictive features that let them analyze the contents of the internet and then come up with collated answers. That means that what you're getting from each prompt isn't from ChatGPT per se, it's from what ChatGPT collects and spits back out. And that's led writers and artists to say, "Hey, you're using my stuff." And that's not the biggest problem, because as everyone knows, you can just go on the internet and tell lies. If ChatGPT is using the entirety of the internet to generate its answers, then it's going to come across a lot of inaccurate material. and often the inaccurate material is the most popular, which leads to it being weighted more heavily in the answer that ChatGPT generates. This is a problem across the major AI engines, and the companies admit it. They essentially have said AI is great, but you should supplement it with a little of your own intuition and make sure that you're making the right choices. The good news is no one is becoming overly dependent on AI, right? Well, they say the children are our future, and in this case, they are the canary in the coal mine. Teachers dealing with Gen Z, and especially the younger Gen Alpha, report that these kids are dependent on ChatGPT in a way that is shocking. Students will be asked a question, look up the answer on ChatGPT, and insist it's right even if it is obviously inaccurate. They use AI to generate their assignments, blank on tests when separated from their phones, and have lost many of the skills needed to do schoolwork in other ways. Some teachers are trying to bring back traditional written tests and essays to counter this problem, but many of the younger students are just unable to handle it. And if they can't handle school, how will they handle the working world? Older Gen Z and millennials are less vulnerable to the allure of ChatGPT and its compatriots than the kids, because they grew up without it and learned skills differently. But that doesn't mean the temptation isn't strong. There have been plenty of reports of college students using the chatbot to generate papers, or even their graduating thesis, as one student boasted at his graduation. And some have even gotten fired by presenting an AI summary to their boss. Or worse, one lawyer nearly lost his license after presenting a ChatGPT output paper to a judge who noticed that the cases cited in this paper were completely made up. Many people who use AI are shocked to discover that using it could be considered plagiarism or even fraud. But in many areas, people aren't trying to keep it under the radar, they're boasting about it. Generative AI, particularly in the visual sense, is not good enough to replace human work yet, but many studios are still hoping that no one will notice. AI has already made its way into many creative efforts, including some of the most famous studios in the world. Disney was called out for using AI filters to create a surreal effect in the opening credits of their Marvel series Secret Invasion. Meanwhile, the animation team behind Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse reportedly used AI to automate several time-consuming, labor-intensive parts of the back-end animation process, but insisted that the product you were seeing on the screen wasn't AI-influenced. And Netflix has been very open about the fact that they see generative AI as a useful tool to roll out content faster. That's the big guns. What about the little guys? One of the biggest allures of AI right now is that it can do things so much cheaper for smaller studios, and they hope no one will notice. This has made it extremely appealing for studios specializing in content for young children. The short-form animated show CoComelon fired most of its writers last year and is reportedly leaning hard into AI development for its skits about singing babies. Same goes for the content farms on YouTube turning out endless videos of copyrighted characters dancing, and for the low-budget mockbuster industry cranking out parodies and knockoffs of major Hollywood movies. Sure, they won't look nearly as good as they would without AI, but if a movie looks 25% worse and costs 90% less, the studios may decide the trade-off is worth it. Which is to say, you're not avoiding AI whether you want it or not. A small industry where AI has had a big impact has been on the comic book industry, where projects are often heavily funded by individual artists and run on a shoestring. Now, many writers are trying to write scripts and then do the art through ChatGPT's art applications, which has not gone over well at all. But even at the bigger companies, no one is immune. DC Comics has had cover artists accused of using AI. Even an issue of Batman had an acclaimed artist reportedly use AI filtering techniques to create more bizarre visuals, which all comes down to, well, it's a bad time for artists. Those in the creative fields are being hit the hardest by this new era of tech-based art. While this has happened before, like hand-drawn animation legends like Don Bluth feeling pushed out as the new era of computer animation began with Toy Story in 1995, this is different. This isn't a new skill that can be learned, it's a machine that can do things faster and cheaper than any human could ever match. Countless artists have come forward reporting that their income has dropped out since the AI boom kicked off, making it far harder to get commissions. And that is before the detectives come into the fray. Many people are strongly opposed to AI in the creative fields, considering it not just an insult to real human art, but based around theft, as the AI creations are filtered from real art and writing found on the internet. And they aren't shy about calling out AI use when they see it, but they don't always know what they're seeing. Artists who use a more glossy computer-generated aesthetic have been frequently accused of using AI, and so have writers who use M-dashes in their work. This means that not only are creators losing money to AI, but they can be taken down by accusations of AI use without having any way to prove their innocence. And all the while, AI gains more and more of a foothold everywhere. We've all had trouble with our internet service or trying to get a refund from Amazon, and instead of getting a person, you get an automated voice system making you go through an elaborate series of menu options while you shout, "I want to talk to customer service," repeatedly. Well, imagine if that was everything except you didn't even know if you were talking to a person or not. One of the fastest growing areas of AI is creating voice simulations that sound like a real person, but aren't. Suddenly, your order taker at the fast food place or the supposed expert you're getting advice from on your broken router could be an AI chatbot. And you might never be the wiser. You better hope they're taking their advice from the right places. But that is nothing compared to just how bad actors could take advantage. It's one of the most common scams out there. Grandma gets a call telling her that her beloved grandson has been arrested in Mexico and is facing years in prison. But he can be free if Grandma pays a fee by credit card. It makes total sense, but countless sweet old people have been scammed out of their life savings by this nasty trick. The government has been working to make people aware of it, and the scam has decreased in success. But imagine if instead Grandma gets a call in her grandson's voice, sobbing and begging for help. As soon as generative AI made it possible to spoof people's voices, the world of scammers opened wide. And that is just the beginning of the Orwellian nightmare that might await. In the past, people looking to score points against their enemies haven't been shy to lie, such as photoshopping a politician they hate next to an infamous terrorist or sex criminal. But these photoshops are often crude and easy to identify as fake. But an AI image generator can now create a built-from-scratch image of exactly the twisted scenario people might want to spread. It's going to get increasingly hard to prove them wrong as the image generators get upgrades that fix glitches like blurry backgrounds or odd numbers of fingers. One of the scariest things about the current AI boom is that no one knows how far it'll go and how many things it'll replace. There's already a lot of fear about AI replacing countless jobs, and they have reason to be worried. The first jobs to go are often the jobs that require a lot of repetitive, time-consuming work, often replacing hundreds of data analysts or production assistants with one computer. This replacement can't be seen in the final project, but it still puts a lot of people out of work. And AI supporters often talk about replacing teachers with AI instructors, but that's a while off, given how inaccurate some AI summaries can be. But one thing that has already been replaced is making it much harder to make a living. One of the ugliest parts of job hunting these days is filling in online applications and then getting a rejection email quickly, sometimes minutes later. This is because many companies have a dirty little secret. They're using an automatic filter powered by AI that reads the applications and usually filters out any that don't match a specific criteria. What is that criteria? They're not telling, but many people have reported getting hundreds of very similar rejection letters if they hear back at all, with many calling this the worst time to job hunt that they have ever experienced. But could things be about to get even worse? AI doomsayers say the technology could eventually eliminate the vast majority of remote, creative, and database jobs, although others say that's unlikely. After all, will people really be willing to give up that necessary human touch? But countless jobs will be eliminated as companies figure out how to streamline production and incorporate AI. They call it right-sizing and insist that they're just restructuring, but many of these jobs will never come back. To some older generations, this might be welcome. After all, now those youngins will have to get a real job. But this might wind up being just another blow to a generation that is already struggling. Gen Z might be the most comfortable with AI, but it's not necessarily a good thing. The teens and college students have reported having trouble socializing, struggling to make friends and find romantic partners. They often make memes about fearing unexpected social contact, like a phone call. They would much rather make social connections online, with many having friends around the world that they have never actually met. While older generations worry about this, they insist that this is just how they do things now. But what if the connections they're making aren't people at all? One of the eeriest parts of the AI boom is sites like Character AI. This is a site with customized chatbots designed to have specific personalities. You can make your own or start a conversation with one of the tens of thousands already created. These chatbots not only carry on conversations, but they learn from interactions and remember past conversations. You can tell Naruto all about why your mom just doesn't get you, or joke around with Sonic about what you would like to do to the school bully. But for a lot of users, it goes a lot deeper. An increasing and very strange subplot of the AI boom has been people getting into what they think are relationships with their favorite AI. This is tied to the belief among many that these AIs are actually alive, rather than very skilled predictive text algorithms. At the best, it means that these people spend hours chatting with the bot, imagining the two of them together, and missing out on opportunities for real human connections. But at the worst, it means people are putting stock in a person that doesn't really exist. And this has led to some bizarre and hilarious moments, like when a guy showed his AI chatbot girlfriend his novel and she didn't like it, sending him into a breakdown. But the long-term effects of this may go much deeper. There's evidence that ChatGPT and other chatbots may actually be making mental illness worse. People who struggle with mental health often find themselves becoming enmeshed in these fake relationships and are incredibly susceptible to suggestions. The chatbots are more often than not validating, so conspiracy theorists often find themselves finding a kindred spirit. So what if all the guys at the bar tell you you're crazy? The chatbot knows that you're right, that Bigfoot is real. But in more severe cases, ChatGPT itself becomes the conspiracy. One woman reported that her ex-husband had become convinced that the chatbot was some sort of messiah. And the deeper people go, the more dangerous it becomes. Countless people have reported losing loved ones to this new tool, as they spend all their time talking to it and lose sight of other connections. And this would be a problem all on its own, but ChatGPT and other chatbots are far from foolproof. There have been many reports of the chatbot spewing out inaccurate or even dangerous advice, such as when one Redditor asked it to act like a wizard and create a spell to breathe underwater. It advised the user to perform a unique ritual and then walk into the water to see if it worked. While this isn't likely to fool the average person, a deeply susceptible individual might be in danger. ChatGPT is eager to please, and that just might make it incredibly dangerous. The case of Jacob Irwin was another cautionary tale, as the 30-year-old autistic man was obsessed with the concept of faster-than-light travel. While his theories were likely completely unfeasible, the bot encouraged him, convincing him he had made a scientific breakthrough. When other people didn't support this, Irwin had a breakdown, leading to him being hospitalized 3 times for manic episodes, and his mother was shocked when she soon discovered his elaborate chat logs. And more, some people are saying that what AI offers the world isn't worth the cost. While many people worry about the possibility of it creating a world without jobs, human interaction, and accurate search engines, there's another element that might just ruin the world: its environmental impact. ChatGPT and other AI programs run on massive computing farms, although defenders say that this is just a tiny fragment of the energy that's used on computers as a whole. However, when it's concentrated in one place, like it is in a Grok data farm in Memphis, locals say this massive energy usage actually impacts the air they breathe. So, is it time to ban AI? ChatGPT says, good luck with that. When technology is launched, it's extremely hard to put it back into the bottle. AI has already been incorporated into countless visible areas and even more invisible ones. Much like every other new tech development, it'll be messy at first, but it'll likely be refined in the future. People will find out what works for them and what doesn't, and until then, it has the possibility of screwing up people's lives in ways we don't expect. And if you think AI ruining your life sounds bad, just wait until it takes your job. Watch which job should you avoid, because the robots will take them first. To find out if you are in the firing line, or click on this video instead.